in the beginning, I would say yoga is learning to feel things inside your physical body. And that might sound really silly, but it's something that as we do more yoga, we discover that we're not very good at. So a lot of the times, most of us start to feel something in our physical body and rush to numb it somehow with flying or Netflix or some other activity because we are starting to feel some kind of sensation, including an emotion, which are physical events inside of our body. The part of the practice of yoga is literally learning to feel sensation in your body. A couple of things I want to explain to you about the practice of yoga that are really going to help you. First thing is, in yoga, we use our body to train our mind. This will make sense to you by the end of this program. When we stretch open muscles, like we do in yoga, it is a sympathetic event in the body. So a sympathetic event means it's a stress event in the body. So yoga has quite a marketing issue. Because a lot of people that have never done yoga come to yoga thinking it's going to be this very relaxing experience. And I always say, Kobe, I'm very worried. It's okay. I always say to people, yoga feels nice afterwards. It feels nice when you finish, but it's not comfortable while you're doing it. We move our body in such unusual ways in yoga. So I don't know about you, but I don't reach for things in my house like this, and I don't sort of pick up my children like this. We move in ways you would never move at all in your anywhere outside of the yoga studio, and there's a really good reason for that. So firstly, we need to know it's a sympathetic event. It's supposed to be stressful for the body. When you open muscles, when you stretch muscles out, it's a sympathetic event that lifts the heart rate and it creates a stress response in the body on purpose. So from the most loving place in me, I'm going to try to stress you out with the yoga poses. Why? So you can practice disciplining your mind. What happens to you, and how do you figure out how to find your breath, and how do you figure out how to find your center when you're standing on one leg, or when you're opening through the front of the body? Or sometimes we'll take a shape where we'll have the groin open and the belly exposed, and the heart open and the throat open. And if you're in a state of fight or flight, your whole nervous system is just like, what is happening? It's very risky. But if you can breathe through it and calm down the response, you'll be able to flip the switch on the nervous system. So my first point to you is it's a sympathetic event. It will feel nice when you're finished. But having said that, what I want you to explore in this course, and maybe forevermore in yoga, is a lot of the time we'll come to a yoga pose and we'll start to feel something in the body. So for example, say we come to a fairly common pose in yoga would be a low lunge, for example. And we'll come to a low lunge and we'll start to feel something. So right now I can feel an opening in the front of my left hip. And it's an unusual feeling. I have taught other classes today, but if I hadn't, I wouldn't have felt this feeling yet today. All right, you only feel it in yoga. And so what most of us have the experience of, when we feel something new, we decide that it's pain. And your brain does that on purpose. So your brain is a problem-seeking organ that has what's called a negative bias. So your brain's job is to look for the things that are wrong and that are uncomfortable, and it slaps a big story about what's wrong and what's uncomfortable, make sure you never go back there again. And this is great for keeping you alive. This is not so great for keeping you thriving. All right? So we stay alive like that. We do it to people all the time. Like maybe one time we hadn't had a good night's sleep, we were a bit hungry, and we met someone and they just said this one thing. And we just write a whole person off. Your brain will do that. That person is no good, don't go near them again. We'll hang on to that story for the rest of our life. And we do it with places. And we do it with all sorts of things. Your brain has a negative bias. It looks for what's wrong. It's not looking. So right now, my brain's going, it's really hot in here. I'm really sweaty. There's a million good things happening in here right now. But the priority of my mind is survival. Hey, I'm slightly uncomfortable with the temperature in a fixed state. Should I get up and open the door to put the aircon on? I might. But that's, and I could be focused on all the lovely things that are happening, but I'm not. Your brain's doing the same thing. You're supposed to do that. It's how you stay alive. It's how you stay alive all of these years. You focus on what is not comfortable, and you give that lots of priority in your mind. So when you come into the sensation in yoga, you come into a low land, you'll focus on what's uncomfortable. And until you start to learn how to really, really get subtle with your awareness in the body, and that means doing things like in this low lunge. So when we first start doing yoga, we'll be here and we'll hold our breath and we're like, it's horrible, how long do I have to stay here? Get me out of here. But then eventually you can start to breathe and be like, okay, I'm feeling sensation from here to here. It's not necessarily pain, it's just something I don't normally feel. It feels like an opening. Okay, there's pressure in my foot. There's a slight compression in my lower back. So you start to feel into the body and you take these big responses from being like, uh-oh, I'm feeling something in my body, get out of here. And you start to sift right into those responses in the body. So this is how we use yoga to train the mind. We use the body and we ask it to feel really unusual things you haven't felt today or maybe ever in your life. Like, maybe a show of hands outside of a yoga class. When's the last time you really opened into the side of your body? Anyone think of a time? Like, I don't stand in Woolworths and see something on that shelf and be like, really, we just don't. We shift our body and we make these minimal movements for minimal sensation in our body during the day. We lie down, we sit down as soon as we start feeling things in our body. All right, so this is the first thing to understand. We all do it. Hello. Hi, please come in.
I'm sorry.
Right, one thing that if you don't know me already, you'll learn about me is I'm very punctual. I will start you and I'll finish you exactly on time every week. All right, so we know this now. So the body, we don't move it that much. We don't move it unusually. And so yoga is going to move it unusually. And you're going to have to work through what's happening in your mind. Because what will be happening in your mind is, uh-oh, this is horrible, hold the breath, how long do I have to stay here? This doesn't feel all right. Your job as a yogi is to transcend that. All right? Okay, I'm feeling a big opening in the left side of my body. I'm feeling a compression through the right side of my waist. You get more and more and more subtle. And then what you're able to do is take a sympathetic event, so a stressed event in the body, and using your mind, turn it into a parasympathetic event in your body. If there's one great feat that will change your life more than anything else, it's the ability to flip the nervous system. Really and truly. It's very in fashion at the moment to talk about sympathetic dominance, which is sort of this idea that so many of us are stuck in fight or flight response. And after the last 2 years, who can blame us? I know we have some frontline health workers in here. It would be shocking if you weren't, really and truly. So yoga is a tool for learning how to master the nervous system instead of mastering you, if that makes sense. All right, so that's your first thing. That we come here to understand you're going to get uncomfortable, but then you're going to sift through that in your mind until it's not uncomfortable. And you know what? It's going to follow you out of here. It's going to follow you out of here because what we tend to do a lot of the time, maybe we have a minor inconvenience somewhere early in our day, get stuck in traffic or something doesn't go the way that we unconsciously thought it was going to go. And so then we just decide the whole day is ruined. And today's the worst. All right, and that's your brain doing that negative bias thing again. And can you imagine maybe being on your deathbed and just thinking about these days that you just wrote off entirely, these days where you had this healthy body, we're reading about, and you just wrote them off because of some minor inconvenience. We're just going to save you from that. Okay. I want to talk to you briefly about a part of your brain that's called the hippocampus. So the hippocampus is kind of central to the brain. It's the part of your brain that is responsible for how you manage stress. And what is fascinating about the hippocampus is that the story that you tell it directs how healthy it is. So what does that mean? If we, as humans and as animals, so these studies have all been done on mice and then humans, but as humans, what's really, really, really good for us is to undergo very short stresses, so acute stress and then to recover. Acute stress and then recover. It's really healthy for us. It's not healthy actually for us to have no stress at all. We call that a dorsal state, and we'll talk about that in one of the weeks coming up. It's really healthy to have stress that we can manage and finish. Manage stress and finish. So these peaks and sort of like this ebb and flow of stress in our life, we're supposed to have that. That's how our brain develops. What we're not supposed to have is the stress that doesn't end. So that long-term stress, that's really bad. And in fact, this part of your brain, so it's physical structure, this gray matter. When you have short-term stress events that you finish, you complete them, your brain's like, look how good we are at dealing with stress, and it grows another stem cell. Like, that's really impressive for your brain to grow another stem cell, and it strengthens the hippocampus, and you're better able to deal with stress going forward. Conversely, when you've been under chronic stress, so unrelenting stress, it just doesn't stop, your brain destroys, it atrophies, and part of the actual physical gray matter in the brain dies, and that part of your brain gets smaller and less effective. What's excellent to know about this, and also terrifying to know about this, is this part of your brain pays attention to what you tell it. So for example, if you give yourself a story, you tell yourself, gosh, 2021 was hard. 2021 was awful. 2021 was so stressful. That part of your brain is like, wow, we've been under chronic stress for 12 months. That's crazy, and kills part of itself. Whereas if you look back and practice what we call discernment, the Sanskrit or the yoga word is viveka, you look back and be like, 2021 sure challenged me, but I came through it, and I got some new skills, and I had moments of peace, and I had moments of triumph, and I had moments of really having to show who I say I am, and you break it down, then you've got a story that you've just had all these acute stresses that you've recovered from, and that part of your brain grows, another brain cell becomes stronger. Why is that relevant to yoga? Because in a yoga class, each pose is a deliberate stressor. Right? So you come to a yoga class, you might do 30 different poses. It's up to you. Like, I can lead you so far, but it's up to you. You can come out of that and be like, that was a stressful hour, and the part of your brain responds in kind. Or you can manage the mind during it, and you've had 30 acute stress events that you've recovered from really well, and you will go and feel with a new stem cell in your brain. This is what I mean when I say we use the body to train the mind. Really and truly. The flexibility, the strength in the body, all the physical benefits of which there are thousands, that's a happy side effect of the mind training that yoga really, really is. Anyone have any questions about that so far? Cool. Does it seem like it makes sense in some way? Amazing. Awesome. Great. So this week, got 6 weeks together. I'm going to talk progressively less each week. Right. So a little more this week, I'll explain a few things, and then by the end, it's going to be an experience for you. One other thing that I want to say is just to prepare for your yoga class, you don't want to eat within ideally 2 hours before you do yoga. And you don't want to be coming here with a belly full of water either, because we twist and we go upside down, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that is going to make it really uncomfortable to have anything in the belly. If you're able to not drink during the practice, that is ideal. On a very hot day like today, and I will put that aircon on in a minute, a very hot day like today, if you really need to, please do. But otherwise, you want to save the drinking for after. For yoga, there's a big energetic reason for this as well. Like in yoga, we're trying to create something called Agni. Agni is sort of this fire of purification, this energetic fire of purification that moves through the body, and we put it out when we drink during our class. That said, please stay happy, don't want people passing out or anything. All right? A yoga pose, so what I demonstrate in the front of the room is guidance only. There's going to be, if I teach a yoga class to 10 people, if I teach a yoga class to 20 people, there's going to be 20 different versions because there's 20 different bodies. And I just want to give one example of how your bodies are so different. I want to talk about the hip joints for a moment, but this applies to every joint. So the hip joints is just a really good example. So in your hip joint, you've got the socket and you've got the ball that goes into it. And you know how we've got like replica skeletons? Yeah, most of those have been made of just one particular body type. And what we now know about hip bones is some people have a really shallow socket. Me, I have a really shallow socket. I'll show you how I know that in a minute. And some people have a really, really deep socket. All right. Yoga can change so much stuff. It's not going to change your bone structure. All right. It's going to change everything else in your life. It's not going to change the structure of your bones. Why is this important to know? If we're coming into a forward fold, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the way we fold forwards. If we're coming into a forward fold, so for example, a seated forward fold, that thigh bone moves in the socket. I've got a really shallow socket. I know this because I've got a pretty big range of motion. Someone who's got a really deep socket, it doesn't matter how flexible their muscles get, how untangled their connective tissue gets. At some point, that bone's going to push into bone, and you're not going to be able to go any further forwards. So in yoga, one thing that we really need to emphasize is non-violence, we call it. There's no perfect pose. Instagram will have us thinking differently, but there's really not. Some people's bodies are never going to get into certain shapes, and it's so irrelevant because you're here to train your mind. And what's beautiful is when we find those points in our body, we really start to train our ego a little bit as well. So there's no sort of aspirational end goal of like doing a one-arm handstand and like holding. It's really not about that. The most advanced yogi in the room is just going to be deeply in their body, in their own experience, and training the mind with that. One last thing to talk about before we really get into forward folds is the breath. Obviously, the breath really matters in yoga. It's really important. Even if you've never done yoga, you probably know this in some way. Why does the breath matter so much? We'll break it down week by week, but this week I'm going to talk about why it matters is because it's one of these super rare functions in the body that you can leave to the autonomic nervous system. So for example, when you're doing your grocery shopping, you don't have to walk around going inhale and exhale, and you don't have to do that. Your body's going to do it for you. All right? But at the same time, I can say to you right now, take a longer inhale, and you can just command the breath. You can grab it, you can let it go. You can grab it, you can let it go. It's really hard to find other functions like that in the body. Like if I say to you right now, please beat your heart 10 times faster. I mean, tell me if you can. Or please release an egg if you're in a female body. All right, like there's not much else we can grab off and sort of claim as our own. And the yogis say this is our gateway. The breath is a gateway into starting to command things in your life. When you get command of the breath, you're going to get command of the other cycles and the other rhythms in your life. It's also going to bring you back into the body. One thing we tend to do when we feel sensation, think about what happens if you stub your toe. Or like I'm the cliche, I literally step on Lego, my kids play with Lego all the time. What do? We go, and we hold the breath inside of our body. If you had that experience, maybe you hit your elbow, and the nerves are right there. We suck the breath in, we hold the breath inside our body. I can tell you why we do that. This is an evolutionary pain response. Remember, your brain is that problem-seeking device. So you've just been hurt. in some way, you're going to intensify the pain that you feel in case there's more. You're going to feel more pain when you suck the breath in and hold it and tense the body like this. So if there's a threat to you, you're going to become super aware of it. You're going to feel more, and then you're going to be able to get yourself out of there if you need to. Holding that breath in really amplifies what is happening. That really softens things down. Becoming aware of the breath can change everything that's happening outside of you in an instant. So my example I always give is me at the self-serve checkouts. I'm my worst self. Like I only go there if I'm in a big rush, and then I can never get them to work, ever. They're always flashing or stopping or telling me I haven't bagged something, really just like. And so now I know all I need to do is take a big long exhale when I'm there, and I'm going to come out of that stress response. And I know that because when I'm in a warrior 3 or in a forward fold, and I'm in a stress response, I've learned with a big long exhale, I can let the stress response go. So this is how I'll follow you out. That's all our philosophical theory for tonight. We're going to move into forward fold. So in yoga, we move our body in 4 directions. We bend forwards, we bend backwards, we bend side to side. That's your first 4 weeks of this course. We're going to break them down for you. Folding forwards. Injuries are super rare in yoga. Like it really doesn't happen because your mind is so in your body. If an injury is going to happen, 99% of the time it's going to be in a forward fold. All right? I'm going to ask people about their bodies when you just came in here now. And this is the same for every yoga class. That information about your body. Guaranteed, 100%. A few people are going to say lower back problems. I've got lower back problems. I'm pain in my lower back. I'm going to talk to you about your lower back. I'm going to talk to you about your spine. So you're very basic, really rudimentary architecture of the spine is you've got your tailbone, and then you've got some vertebrae that come up from the tailbone, and they're all fused together. So there's no discs between them, they're like a flat plate. That's called your sacrum. If you look at a skeleton, it kind of curves around, almost looks like a tail, a little bit. That's here, the flat bit of the sacrum. And then you have your lumbar spine. So your lumbar spine and your L discs, probably about here to here. When you get lower back pain, it's around here for all of us, and I'll explain why. So you have vertebrae, disc, vertebrae, disc, vertebrae, disc up the spine. Around L5 here, if you just intuitively put your hand, you'll get L5. All right? The place that hurts and the lower back hurts. Around L5, you've got the biggest gap in your entire spine between 2 vertebrae, the biggest gap there. What happens is we start to use that gap as a hinge in the body. So think about when you fold forwards. Folding forwards is the only movement in yoga that we do outside of yoga. Really and truly, we fold forwards all the time. And I don't know about you guys, but if I am folding forwards outside of yoga class, I am not doing it like I'm supposed to. You know, the stickers on the boxes, where it's like, if I'm picking up my kid, I'm not doing this. I'm really not. I'm doing something like this. All right, I'm picking up Lego, doing something like this. We all fold forwards a lot in our body. Watch what happens in my body. This is pretty subtle, but if I think of L5 being around here, and I just drop into the way I normally fold forwards, what I'm doing is using this part of my body as a way to open to get forwards. And this part of the body is not supposed to work as a hinge. So most of our back pain here comes because we open L5 in a way that we're not supposed to open L5. We've got a hinge built into our body right here. We've got one here, we've got one here. That's why those boxes say, like, bend at your hinges instead of, that's what they're saying. Not here, here's not a hinge. You'll never see a box that says open L5 and then pick up from there because you really can't recruit big muscles there. So what this has to do with yoga is we fold forward a lot in yoga. So many benefits of folding forwards. We need to take the hinge point to the hips instead of in L5. How do we do that? We bend our knees and then we start to hinge here. You can see the crease in the hips and this part's staying nice and straight, and nice and straight, and nice and straight, and nice and straight. So please come to standing for a moment. I'm just going to practice something. Here's you to practice that. Break the aircon. Are you good enough? Oh, sorry, you're really outraged. I'm so sorry. No, I'm fine, I'm always doing. Pick up a yoga block. If you don't have a yoga block, bring one to you. We're going to place a block between our inner thighs. And I want to teach you to make what's called an inner spiral. So we're going to stand with our feet parallel to each other. Beautiful. And leave the block. I'm just going to show you from side on. So for a forward fold, this is what we want to think about. This is called an inner spiral. So with that block, imagine you're trying to push it backward behind you. So I can roll the block forward by squeezing my bottom, like I'm tucking my tail. And I can roll the block backwards, like I'm trying to push my inner thighs. Beautiful. So let's just place our hand on our heart and our hand on our belly. Roll the block forwards and feel those hands come closer together. So you shorten the distance in the front of your body. Feel that? Roll the block backwards. Feel the front of the body go long. Beautiful. Keep the block rolled backwards. Take a big breath in. Start to lean forwards. And lean forwards and try to keep L5 nice and supported. Lean forwards. Beautiful. Please step that up. Roll the block forward. Shorten the distance between the hands. Squeezing the bottom. Now forwards now. That's harder this way. So come back up. Let's try that again. Roll the block backwards. Grow the front of the body really long. Hinge at the hips. Come forward. Beautiful, everyone. Please come back up. Tuck the tail. Roll the block forward. Let's do an outer spiral. So you're going to squeeze in the bottom. Hands are close together. Roll forwards here. I feel the difference in that. Beautiful. We use one of those for a forward fold, we use one of those for a back bend. While we're here, let's just practice it. So roll the block forward, outer spiral, squeeze the bottom like you're trying to roll your inner thighs forward, 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 forward. Push your heart into your hand. Beautiful. Come out of that. Do the opposite, roll the block backward, 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 backward. Push your heart into your hand. Pretty different movement there. So this is sort of your foundational thing for a forward fold. You want to increase the distance in the front of your body when you're folding forwards, rather than increase the distance in the back of the body when you're folding forwards. Does that make sense? It goes for all forward folds, whether we're seated or whether we're standing. We're going to just do it without the block for a minute. You're not going to hate yourself doing this. I just want you to experience what it feels like. Fold forwards the way you would at home. You went in a yoga class, like really, truly. But please come back up. I know, I'm glad we all do it the same. It's universal, right? How you're going to do it in a yoga class and maybe occasionally at home when you think of it. Start to lift the heart up. So in yoga class, most of the time we'll go like this before we roll forward because we're increasing this distance. So come like this with me, stick the hands up, take a big breath in. Good. Keep that distance really long. Please bend the knees and lift the tailbone. Bend the knees and lift the tailbone. And then bow down. Beautiful. Hang the head. Let's look through the legs. Nice. Beautiful. Please find a seat. That's what we're talking I'm going to do. We're going to go into practice now. Remembering that what you're here to do is feel your body. Right? We're going to take you through some unusual ways to move, and you're going to breathe into them, and you're just going to feel like someone who's so curious. Like, what does it feel like to move in these unusual ways? We're going to find any way to sit that feels okay. So if it feels not okay for you to sit, and maybe the knees are coming up like this, you can use one of the blocks. And the way you use the block is you just use it to tilt the pelvis forward. So I'm like, only my bottom's a little bit on the block, and the tailbone kicks up a bit. And then my knees can come lower than my hips, or at least a little bit closer to the ground. But what you're looking for is, I'll show you side arm, it's taking the rounding out of the long back. So when the knees come up, so the long back's quite round here. When the knees come down, it's almost like you get that natural curve back in the spine. The block does not work for everyone. Another way to use it, if sitting still not feeling okay, is something like this. So we'll start our class sitting in any way that works for you. Let's get the shoulders roll up, back, and down. And now let's close the eyes. Maybe for the first time today, start to notice that you're breathing. Start to notice that an inhale travels downward into your body. So it pulls down. It's upward. Just notice that and nothing else. Down and up. As you pay attention to your breath, it slows down by itself. Now we're just going to add a gentle count to our breath. So we're going to inhale for 4 in your own mind and exhale for 4 in your own mind. Just a couple of rounds. Finish the round at your arm. Well, we're going to very gently keep our eyes open. We're going to start our practice on hands and knees. If you'd like support for the knees, you can wait and I'll remove the knee under the knee. Otherwise, our knees come under our hips and our hands come under our shoulders. Point the index finger forwards to be spread the rest of the fingers out and you can make your hands as big as you can make them. Beautiful. Think about your tailbone, tuck it down towards your belly button and then pull the ribs in. Push the ground away with your hands and tuck your chin in like you're trying to look at your own belly button. Spread the shoulder blades apart here. Beautiful. Lift the tailbone now, let the belly button drop towards the earth. Squeeze the heart towards the face, big breath in. Exhale, start from the tailbone. Feel this movement through your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. Look to the belly button, stretch the back of the heart, and then an inhale, start with the tailbone. This is called cat-cow. So this is the cow pose now that we're in. We'll exhale to the cat pose, rounding the back of the body. If you're able to, please close your eyes as you continue this. And come into the practice of simply feeling your body. What does your spine feel like? And start to tease it apart. You've got a compression when you're in the cow pose. What does a compression feel like for you? You've got an extension when you're rounded in that cow pose. What does that feel like? And what does your lower back feel like compared to your mid back or the upper back? Take one more round here. See if you can slow the breath down and exaggerate the movement. Let's stretch a little more. We're going to meet in a neutral spine. When you get there, push the back of the heart up towards the sky. Beautiful. Bring your eye gaze just ahead of your own yoga mat. Your left foot pushes back through space. So push that left heel back. Breath in here. Drop the ball of the foot onto the earth. Your right foot steps off your yoga mat this way. Sorry guys, leaving there. Beautiful, some of you are already there. The left hand can feel up to the side for a side plank. That whole back foot lands on the earth. So please bring the left heel down, that's beautiful. Pull the left kneecap up. Stretch the left fingers a little higher to the sky. And now please squeeze your bottom and push the hips forwards towards the window. It's really nice. Take a bigger breath in here. Stay for your exhale. Bend the elbow that's in the air and bring the hand to the back of your head. Relax your shoulders. You're going to take a big breath in. Push the hip bones forwards as the head presses into the hand. Breathe out. Notice what's happening here. Unusual, new sensations. Pass through your mind. Start feeling what's going on. Breathe in. Push the head into the hand as you breathe out. Squeeze the bottom hips, push forwards, right in. Push the head into the hand as you breathe out. Stay here for just one more moment. And now reach that left arm forwards to meet with the bicep beside the ear. Make the left side of your body longer than it's ever been. Take a big breath into your left lung. Stay for your breath out. One more inhale here. We'll come gently back to hands and knees on the breath out. Squeeze your tummy muscles to get there, please. Close down the eyes on hands and knees. Feel into your body and notice if the left side feels different from the right side. See if you could notice what feels like a rising up of energy in the left side of the body. The right leg extends back through space now, taking a breath and making the eyes open. Beautiful, drop the ball of the foot down. Your left foot steps off your mat towards the window behind you. Beautiful, now the right arm lifts to the sky from your side plank. Please put the whole right foot down, including the heel, that's it. Pull the kneecap up. Check if you've stopped breathing. Squeeze, I know we all do. Squeeze the bottom forwards. And now bend the elbow that's in the air, please wrap it around the back of the head. Take a nice big breath in here. Push the head into the hand as you breathe out. Pull the right kneecap up. Nice. Start breathing here. Hip bones come forwards, head pushes backwards. Big deep breaths. Feel what's here and control your mind. Your mind's going to be telling you to get out of here. There's a whole new sensation. We don't know this one. That's how you leave. Breathe into it instead. You guys are amazing. The level of mind mastery that's already here is incredible. Reach that hand forwards to meet the back of the head and make the right side of your body as long as it can be. Take a big breath into this, whatever it feels like, and breathe something out. And another big breath in because you are strong enough to feel things in your body, and a big breath out. And please squeeze the tummy muscles a lot to come back to hands and knees, a lot. Close down your eyes when you get back. Keep your awareness inside your body. Check and see if it feels like there's a rising of energy through the right side of your body. Beautiful. Spread the hands out. Push the fingertips down into the earth. We're coming into downward facing dog. So please tuck the toes. And then we're going to push the hips up really high into the triangle shape. We're all going to bend our knees to start with here. What we're going for is length through the back of the body. So through the spine to tailbone. Push your hands out. So your hands are now load-bearing and your wrist is not a load-bearing structure in the body. People get sore wrists in yoga because we don't press the fingertips down enough. So really plant the hands down. Think about the knuckle that is connected to the index finger and push that part down particularly. Beautiful. Now we're going to unlock our elbows. Slight bend in the elbows. Now we're going to hang our head. Give the head a little nod, yes, and a little shake, no. Got about 7 kilos in your skull. You're going to let it hang towards the earth. It's going to pull space into those upper vertebrae for you. Start breathing upside down. So remember, you're in a stress response deliberately. This is so unusual. There's no other time in your life you go upside down and just hang out there. So get your mind under control, please. Tap the ribs in towards each other. The front of the core engages, the belly button draws in. Push that tailbone high. Imagine that we have that block between our inner thighs again. Oh, backward. Oh, that was beautiful. Good. Take a nice long breath in here. Stay your breath out. We're going to inhale together. As we exhale, we're going to walk our hands back to our feet and the knees. Walk the hands backwards, backwards, backwards. Well done, everybody. Push the palms onto the shins. Lift the gaze. Take a halfway lift in. Nice big breath in. Stay for a breath out. We unhinge from the hips, bring the hands into prayer pose, standing at the back of the mat, breath in. One of the most important shapes in yoga is Tadasana, the mountain pose. The feet are parallel, tap the tail, the fingers spread out wide, the heart lifts, hardest of all now, close the eyes. Check in with your breath, please. Hands to meet together in front of the heart, blink the eyes open. Take a big breath in. Imagine rolling that block backwards. So we're lengthening the front of the body here. We're about to forward fold. Bend the knees a lot. Hinge from your hips. Coming forwards. Very nice. You guys are amazing. Bring the hands onto the shins. Take a halfway lift here. Bend your knees so deeply that your ribs touch them. And now tuck your chin into your heart. Try to look at your own tailbone. Try to see your own tailbone. Beautiful. Breathe here and forward fold. And feel what it feels like to fold forwards like this. We may or may not have ever folded forwards like this before in our life. So find that curiosity. Just feel the sensation. Please lengthen the back of your neck. So really that head is hanging down and you're tucking in. Check if you stop breathing. Beautiful, everyone. Move slowly, push hands onto shins. We'll take a halfway lift here. Walk back to your downward facing dog as you breathe out, and breathe out, and breathe out, and breathe out. Really nice. Take a nice long inhale here. Bring the knees onto the earth as you exhale. Left foot is going to step it up between your hands. We're going to bring our left ankle and left knee in line with each other, so stacking them. Then we're going to squeeze into our core, taking a breath in, bring the hands up. Hands meet above the head, we're going to pull it down to the heart as we breathe out. Really nice. Tuck the tailbone here, the heart to the sky, relax through your jaw. Beautiful. Squeeze the sides of the waist and bring the belly button in line. It's going to touch the spine. Turn your heart towards the windows and towards the left. Check if you stop breathing, please. The front of the heart lifts up, the shoulder blades roll down the back. That's beautiful. Relax your front toes. Push through the front heel instead. Really nice. We're going to take a breath in together. Expand the hands out. So that left hand reaches towards the door you walked in. Right hand reaches towards me. Stay for a breath out. Good. Notice you're in a stress response. Manage your mind. Manage your breath. You got it. We're going to bring our hands to meet together above our head. Our heart stays turning towards the window. So take a breath in here. Pull that prayer down to your heart as you breathe out. Very nice, everyone. Squeeze the tummy muscles to turn that heart back to center. All right, ready to feel some sensation in the body? Let's lift the hands of the gaze if you can. Breath in. We're going to push into the front heel to extend through that front leg. Hands reach backwards, heart dives forwards, empty your lungs here. Beautiful, bend into that front knee. See if you can drop the pelvis lower to the earth and lift the heart, breath in. Find an extension through that left leg, sweep backwards, bow the heart down, breath out. Beautiful, we'll do one more time like this. Breath in, lift the heart, drop the groin. Check if you're actually breathing. Exhale to come down. Beautiful. Keep that leg straightly or extended and then bring the fingertips onto the earth. Bring your eye gaze forward. Lift the chin away from the heart. Once you are breathing, have a think about which is the right side of your yoga mat. And let's all squish our tail towards the right side, so the left hip bone goes down. Beautiful. Start breathing here. Start feeling what's happening in your body and start discerning. So instead of moving forward, maybe there's some elongation in the back of the leg and some power through the right leg. Keep the pile low. Take a nice long breath in. Maybe bowing forwards now on up breath out. We're going to gently bend into that front knee. Beautiful. Bring the hands down. Look forward here. Tap the back toes and lift that back knee up. Good. We're going to challenge our core here. How you do that is figure out which is your left heel. It's the one at the front. Push into that left heel and lift into a high lunge now. Nice big breath in here. Bend the front knee forward as you exhale. Lift the front of the heart. Breathe here. So take a slow breath in, slow breath out. Notice the difference. You've got engagement through the left thigh. You've got an opening of the right hip. Lift the heart away and see what changes in your lower back. Beautiful, everyone. We're going to take one more breath in. And frame that front foot on a breath out. You guys are awesome. Step back to your downward facing dog. Take a nice long breath in here. Take a nice long breath out. Bring the knees down to the earth. Look forwards, the right foot steps forwards this time. You got it. So the hands are nice and steady. Take your breath in. Lift breath to the heart. So your thumbs touch the front of the heart. Space between earlobes and shoulders. Be away from the front toes. Beautiful. Pull the lower belly in like you're tucking your tail. The heart turns towards the bar all this time. So towards the right. Check if you are breathing. One thing we'll learn in yoga, you can engage your core and breathe at the same time. So your core is holding you in a twist. Manage your mind here. Check if you're just waiting for it to be over. Hands are going to expand out like wings. Left hand reaches towards me, right hand reaches back. Breathe. Really subtle little adjustment now. Figure out which is your left hip bone, which is your right hip bone. See if you can lift your left hip bone and drop your right hip bone just a millimeter. Really nice. Hands meet above the head in a prayer. Prayer comes to the heart. Really nice, everyone. Untwist the core, turn back around. We've got a nice big breath in. A little fluidity now, so you can press through that front heel and squeeze forwards, hands lift breath out. Bend into the front knee, drop the groin down, open the heart, breath in. Brushing backwards, big breath out. Sweep up, big breath in. Last time here, extend the knee back on a big breath out. And then bring the hands close to the foot somewhere, fingertips land down. This front leg is lengthened, it may or may not be straight. The front leg is the right leg. Figure out which is the left side of the mat, squish your tailbone forwards and feel the right hip over the back. That was beautiful. Stay here, check if you're breathing. Check if you perhaps need a side. Stay in your body, so you can just be here and feel what's happening in your body. Check the fingertips, check the back of the right leg, check the left knee. Nice, everyone. Maybe bow the head down. See what that change is. See when new sensation arrives. Slowly bend into the front knee, look forward. Beautiful. Tuck the back toes behind you. Push a lot of weight through the front heel while lifting into a high lunge. Nice big breath in. Back heel is off the ground. Both sets of toes are facing forwards here. Take a breath. And see if you can calm yourself here. So that's your job in every shape. Remember, it's either a stressful hour or it's 30 mastered little events. My mission is to have you all walking out of here with new brain cells. Take a big inhale. Hands frame the front foot as we exhale. The back foot is going to step forwards this time. So step up to the front foot. That was beautiful. Put your palms into the shins. Take a halfway lift. Stay here as you breathe out. Bring the hands into prayer pose. Unhinge from the hips. Come up to standing. Reach the hands to the sky. Breath in. Without adjusting the clothes or the hair or the sweat, could you simply bring the hands together to the heart? From here, could you close the eyes? And then just let the palms come apart into that mountain pose. Really resist the urge to fix things on the surface. Resist the mind control here, breathe. And you bring yourself out of whatever stress you want to put into. You guys are amazing, everyone. Last little bit of standing work, and we're going to come to lie out. Blink the eyes open. So feet are hip distance, and I just want to correct this on so many of us, because I say in class a lot of times to women hip distance. Yes. All right. Bring your two fists together. Good. Pop it between the big toes. That is your hip distance. I know. So please come back up. Bring the hands together. This is called Kali Mudra. Mudra means hand gesture. Kali, she's a whole other story. Point the fingers up. You're going to point the fingers to the sky. Go, take a breath in here. Tuck the tail as you breathe out. Find a willingness to feel things in your body because you're about to. A breath in to lift the heart. Point those fingertips up even higher. Point to the left as you breathe out. Breathe out. Breathe out. Take a breath in here. Pull your kneecaps up. Lean over further. You can always lean over further than we think we can. Push the fingers away so you can straighten the arms. Check if you're breathing, please. No. One more breath in. I told you I'm going to stress you from the most loving place in me. Master your mind here. Master your mind here. And calm breath. Feel the left side, the right side of your core rather. Work hard to pull you up. Breath in. Let it go. Tuck the tail. Squeeze the tummy muscles. Pull the kneecaps up. Reach up. Breath in. Fearlessly to the other side. Breath out. Nice big inhale. Lean over a lot further. You're feeling something in your body. Make peace with it. Find the breath. Master the mind, really and truly. So that problem-seeking organ of your brain is saying, get out, yeah. Breathe. And slowly come back up. Big breath in. All the discipline now. So we pull the hands down, close the eyes, find Tadasana, let it go. Nice, long, big breaths here. To slow down the breath. Beautiful. So the arms up to the sky. Take a big breath in. That forward fold. So bend the knees, bow forward, breath out. That's a beautiful forward fold, everyone. Halfway lift, for a breath in. Step back to downward facing dog as you breathe out. Beautiful. Take a big inhale in downward facing dog. And then drop your knees to the earth for child's pose. Coming all the way down. Extend the tailbone back towards the heels. Rest the forehead and round. Nice long breath in here. And a big breath out. One more long breath in. Bigger breath out. Decide to end the stress response here. So decide in your mind that feeling things in the body was okay and the stress response is over. Take a big breath in and let it go. And then we're going to slowly come up out of our child's pose. But instead of reverse that, so we're going to come to laying on our back and hugging the knees into our chest. So take your time to get there. Find a nice slow breath in here. And then a nice slow exhale. And then you might want to make little circles with your lower back, rolling the knees around and around, and breathing as you breathe. Feel the sensations in your body now. Change the directions of those circles, rolling the other way. Beautiful. Give those knees a squeeze in. Take a big breath in. Bring the forehead up to meet the knees. Make yourself really, really, really small. Breathe out, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out. The most important shape of yoga comes down. Lay the head back up to the earth. Extend the right foot all the way to the right corner of your yoga mat, really wide. And the left foot to the left corner of your yoga mat. So feet are wider than the pelvis, and please let the hands face up beside you so your shoulder heads could just roll open. And now please close your eyes if you can. Now you grow a new brain cell and the nervous system resets itself. Suppose it's called Shavasana. English translation is the horse pose. A little more bit, but it's representing the depth of the ego that you hold in here. The depth of the stress responses you hold in. Breath take care of itself. Take it back to the autonomic nervous system. moment here to feel your body. Feel the breath move in and out of the body. Feel the effects of your practice. Feel if anything has changed physically, emotionally, mentally, energetically. We're going to very gently, with our eyes closed if it's possible, roll ourselves to our right side. Hang out for a breath leg on the side. To complete our practice, we're going to come back to any seat that works for your body right now. Any arrangement with the spine long. With your eyes closed, simply follow the breath in and out of the body again. To the left of the heart space. Let's take a breath down into our belly together. Let's turn our head towards our fingers as we breathe out. Please genuinely bow to yourself here. Your willingness to show up, your willingness to feel into your body. The curiosity, the bravery that it took to step foot in here tonight and to stay. Really acknowledge yourself, please. To acknowledge all of that in each other. Bow to this sacred practice. Very genuine when I say the level of discipline that's already in here. It's pretty incredible. It's a hard thing to close your eyes when you're not ready yourself. And it's sweaty. Like it goes against that problem seeking organ. You guys understood it.
Thanks, Beck.
Happy to hear out any questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.